everybody, and welcome back to your next instalment of the Hollyburn Sewalong, where we are going to be making this pattern, the Sewaholic Hollyburn skirt, and it is now August and we can start actually getting down to the proper fun stuff about getting this pattern made. And I know that you're all probably super excited to get started with cutting out, but before we get onto that step, there is one more thing that I wanted to talk about. So first of all, if you haven't seen my previous videos, please check out my video all about fabric choices and my video all about tools that you may need. And if you click on my hands right now, it will take you on a super snazzy link to those videos. So do check out those first in case you are coming a little bit late to the sew along. But if you have your fabric and your tools all together, there is one more thing that we need to talk about before we actually get down to business. And that is picking the right size for you when it comes to making the Hollyburn skirt. Now, when it comes to sewing patterns, I'm going to say this right away, it doesn't matter what size you're making as long as you are honest with yourself in terms of what is going to fit you. You're going to need to take your waist measurement and your hip measurement and then compare it to the ones on the pattern. I know it can be a little bit stressful at this point in the sewing process. I myself, as you may know if you watch my podcast, have struggled with weight issues, and sometimes those measurements are not what we want them to be, but nobody else needs to know what size you are making as long as you make something that is going to fit you. Believe me, there is nothing more disheartening than going for a smaller size and cutting out your fabric and doing all of that hard work and then realizing that the garment that you've made is just not going to fit. One of the amazing things about sewing for yourself is that you don't have to worry about what size you are wearing, whether it's a 6, whether it's a 16, whether it's a 26, it doesn't matter. As long as it fits you, it's going to look beautiful. So let's just be honest with ourselves and make something that's actually going to be comfortable and worth wearing. If you are not experienced with working with one of these patterns, it should come with a whole selection of measurements on the back, or if you have downloaded the pattern as a PDF, it will come as an additional sheet. And what you want to do is look at the body measurements section on the back of the pattern and find the ones that most match your measurements. Now, the interesting thing about this skirt is that it is quite free-flowing. So it means that you're not necessarily having to have something that's exactly the right size around your hips. However, you're going to want something that's going to fit relatively snugly around your waist, as that's where the garment is really fitted tightly. So for example, my own personal waist measurement at this point is 29 inches and my hip measurement is 43 inches. So I go to my body measurements. I would say go by the waist first of all. As I said, this is going to be where the garment is fitting the most snugly. So when I look across, I can see that there are two different sizes that would match my waist measurements. One is 28.5 inches and one is 30 inches. So technically I'm between the sizes 8 and 10 on the paper pattern. When I look down at the hip measurements, the 8 has 40.5 inches and the larger is 42. So at the moment, I have two waist measurements that would both kind of be about the right size, so 28.5 and 30, but two hip measurements that are both smaller than my hips. So we have 40.5 and 42. So in a conundrum like this, I tend to look at the finished measurements sizes, which is also very kindly included on the Sewaholic pattern. The two kinds of skirt that I am going to be making are view B and view C, which is the mid-length skirt and the short skirt. So those are the measurements that I'm going to now be looking at to find which would work for me. So in terms of finished measurements on the waist, the size 8 is 29.5 inches and the size 10 would be 31 inches completed. Now I personally like something that's relatively tight fitting on my waist, as I'm used to wearing things that are very close there and I enjoy the shape that it gives me. So I think out of those two sizes, I would be leaning towards the 8 in terms of which size I'm going to cut out. When I look at the two measurements that are given for the hips, both the hips on B and the hips on C would end up giving me a lot of ease around my hips. That would be 56.5 inches with view B and 62.5 on view C. Those are both for the size 8, which gives me over 10 inches of ease on both of those sizes. So this particular case, when it comes to cutting out my pattern, I'm going to go with size 8. because I know that it will fit well around the waist. It will give me just that little bit of ease that will be comfortable for wear, and I know that it's going to have plentiful amounts of space and ease around my hips to still give me a lovely swishy full skirt. So when it comes to cutting out, that's the size that I would go with. So that's basically it. When it comes to this skirt, if you can get as close as possible to a comfortable fit around your waist and then make sure that you have enough ease around your hips for comfort, you're pretty much good to go. So there you have it. It's as simple as that in terms of picking what size would work for you for the Hollyburn skirt. Like I said, the measurement of most importance is going to be your waist measurement. Then just check and see what gives you the right amount of ease around the hips. But luckily with this pattern being so free and flowing, that shouldn't be an issue for you either. I hope that all makes sense. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below or head over to the Ravelry group for the Inside Number 23 podcast, and I will do my best to answer any questions or queries that you might have. The next video that I'm going to be posting is going to be all about how I personally cut out my pattern pieces, and that's when the exciting stuff starts. So pick your pattern size, get your patterns ready. If you have downloaded the PDF version of the pattern, you'll want to make sure that that's all stuck together, and we're going to get ready for cutting next time. I will see you in the next video. Enjoy your day and happy sewing. Bye!